Hey, welcome back to Russ Toter Garage and the $5,000 budget build 56 Chevy pickup. Anyway, back on the truck. All right, so the last video did the floors in the truck. They are now dry. Don't stink anymore, which is good. Took a while. So I did some reassembly. It was basically just putting parts back in that was done during the fabrication phase, so everything fell right into place. If you want to see how all that stuff was made, check out the earlier videos with the fabrication. Here you can see somebody's asking about brake pedal clearance. It's all good, no problem. I still have to put my gas pedal back in. I put a new firewall pad in before I put all that stuff back in, so that's all good. Still not sure what steering wheel I'm going to use. This is a 67 Impala steering wheel. I did not fix all the cracks. I just kind of put it back on for now. And I put the horn button on from the 67 Camaro steering wheel that I got at the swap meet with the column. That was unexpected, but it just seemed to work out. So I'll throw that on there for now. But that is all I'm going to do in here for the moment. I put some stuff back together. I got the radio block-offs and the wiper switch hooked up and that kind of stuff back into place. But we'll do more on the dash when it comes time to do wiring. And on the outside, I put the power brake booster back on, obviously, with the brake pedal. And the only other thing that I made was I put some shift linkage on there, which is just made from again, from stuff I had laying around from a parts car. There's nothing special about it. But it works. Get you all the gears, and that's all that matters. So I think it's finally time to start getting onto some things that will help get this engine started up. Before I get on to the next part of the project and get too far ahead of myself, let's go over the budget, because I haven't gone over it since last stuff was done. I think the last thing on video we talked about were the seats. So here's the breakdown for painting the dash and doing the floor. So the flake, I know I spent like $25 for that flake, but I only used a small amount of it. So I counted half of it. I put down 12 bucks for the flake. The clear paint, now the paint for me was free. It was long left over from a project. But if you wanted to buy a gallon of paint, the cheapest I found was a speed coat. A gallon of that with the activator is about $80. And I used a quart. So if you had to buy a gallon of paint and you used a quart, that'd be $20 of it. So I put $20 for the cost toward the truck value, but for me, the cost is zero. Long leftover paint. Took a lot of years to use the leftovers, but it's gone. Same deal with the bed liner. The bed liner, that stuff, used very little of it. And again, I bought it at a swap meet. Now, there was an $80 sticker on that can. So I guess if you had to buy it in the store, it would have cost you 80 bucks. Me, I bought two for 50, so it was a $25 can, and I used hardly anything. So I put down a portion. I put down $20 as a value toward the truck, and I put down $9 as my cost just to make things even over here. And I skipped a couple things, but where that was after that was truck value was at $48.65, and out of pocket $17.70. Then the firewall pad, I bought that brand new. I can't remember the company. I think it was Classics Industries or something like that. I can't keep track of the companies anymore. So many of them have changed hands, but that was $75. So cost and value. So that brought us to $49.40 on value, $18.45 out of pocket. And then the shifter linkage, again, stuff I had laying around, cost me nothing. I put a value of 20 bucks. Maybe if you had to go to a junkyard or swap meet and grab it, I don't think it would cost you 20 bucks, but I put 20. So that gets the value of the truck to $49.60, out of pocket $18.45. So you can see on the $5,000 budget, if I had to pay out of pocket for everything, we just about to be there. But if you do it like me and use parts cars and swap meet parts and marketplace parts, well, I only have $1,845 in this truck out of pocket. So let's do some more stuff. All right, so there's a few different things we could do. I think I'll do an exhaust system. How about that? And at least when we start it, you'll be able to hear it knocking or not. So first thing I'm going to do So far, and this is the only new part of the whole exhaust system so far. Yeah, I'll show you what I got. You're gonna be like, what in the world? Okay. Anyway, yeah. So what do we got? Well, I got exhaust studs, but not just any exhaust studs. These are not for an LS. These are for Ford 4.6. Why? Because they're cheaper. These are exhaust studs. They have the same thread pitch as an LS, but you get more for less because the Ford has more exhaust bolts. $11 for this, and this is more than will be needed. So what I do is, because I do more than one of these, I think I bought like 3 kits. So when you add it up, you get like 5 cars. I made it so it worked out that I would have enough to do multiple cars and not just have single leftovers laying around. And I don't know how long these are. I don't speak metric, but they're 2 inches long, which, just like the LS ones, is usually too long, so I'll cut them down. But they'll work. At least they're supposed to work. Let's see if they actually fit. And before I attempt to put those studs in, this is what I'm starting with. A pair of used headers that a friend of mine had with the collectors cut off, and a pair of unknown chambered mufflers and tailpipes, 2.5 inch, and I believe those are off of a Monte Carlo Super Sport. Pretty sure, because most of the stuff I have laying around is G body or A body, because I used to deal with G bodies a whole lot, so I have parts laying around for those cars. So that's what's going to be used. And the thing is, excuse me, the way the tailpipes curve works really well for that gas tank in the back. Any car that had a center mount gas tank in the back like that, G body, A body, the tailpipes work really well to clear everything. So that's what I'm going to be starting with. So yeah, you can see where this is going. So let me see if the Ford Crown Victoria 4.6 exhaust studs actually fit the LS, and then we'll go from there. All right, as expected, they thread right into the LS head, no problem. So they will work. They are longer than I need, so I will cut them down because I know they'll get in the way of the spark plug wires. Learned that from the Buick. However, one thing about these studs that I'm not happy about, and that's the nuts that they sent with them. They're just regular old stainless nuts, nothing special. The last set of studs that I used came with flange nuts with a serrated base, so they would dig into the header and theoretically not loosen up. All we can do is try these and see what happens. All right, so I put in 6 studs per side, total 12, and I had 4 left over. So the Ford setup comes with 16, which is cool because that's 4 toward the next engine. And then you buy another set and you have 8 left over, and another set and you got 12. So that's why I bought 3 sets. So my memory was right. 3 sets will be enough to do what? 1, 2, 3, 4 cars. Put this on here with my original used gaskets. Grab a couple of the nuts. I don't know if these gaskets are gonna be any good, but this is temporary anyway. This is going to be off and on many times building the exhaust. All right, headers are bolted on, at least temporarily. Nothing, to see, no surprises. This was all tested when I was doing the engine fitment and the steering column fitment and fitment of everything. I realized that this was the only real header that I had in stock that was going to work. The other eBay styles would not, and this worked out perfectly. The only thing that's crazy about these is spark plug wires, but we'll get into that when that time comes. I've looked into that as well, so I'm hoping I've got that solved. But with those on, let's get to building the exhaust. In progress. All right, so I've got the driver's side unmodified. I'm sure this was from a Monty SS, so it's G-body. Just stuck in here for now. Man, I love building trucks. It's so easy to work when there's no bed on the truck, you know? Much easier than up in the air. And I grabbed a couple hangers and some clamps off the shelf. Yes, I have this stuff around, and no, I didn't buy it new. You know that. That's swap meet stuff. And there's another hanger there. I got a bunch more. I got a whole box of them. I'm that guy at the swap meet who says, how much for all of it? If you have one exhaust hanger, I'm gonna buy the whole box because they'll last me for years. So it works out good. So this is looking all right. I'm really happy with this. I mean, I don't know. I usually put the exhaust tips straight out the back, but this angle may work. We'll see. Right now, everything's just hanging, and when I weld it in, I'll get this level. I just threw the level on there to see where I'll be, because then I can check clearances for the tailpipe. It's all good. Looks tight, but that's a 1/2 inch of clearance. That's fine. It's not going to move backwards. I got plenty of height for the axle to move up. I'm actually just under my frame rail here. I can go up a little bit if I want, so that's all good, because there'll be some room once the bed cross members are in. So that's all good. And yeah, it's looking good so far. So I'm going to hang the other side and see what it looks like. And once it's kind of hanging temporarily, as I said, this is just kind of clamped right there, I can get it in the air and start working from the front back to here, and then take it apart and paint it. And hopefully, when we start it up, these unknown mufflers aren't just all rotted out and it doesn't just blow everything right at the tailpipe. But there's some kind of flow masters. Maybe if I wire brush them, I can actually read it. We'll see. Both tailpipes roughed in, just kind of sitting there. Trucks are just so easy to work with. I mean, lots of room for the whole thing to move around. It's just very simple. And I forgot to mention, this is why I never did the rear shocks on the chassis yet, because I knew I'd be using some kind of used exhaust system, and I needed to make sure I had clearance. I didn't know where exactly, you know, the shocks are going to be. I mean, if I mount them here, it's good. If I mount them here, it's no good. So I needed to make sure, because I knew there was no way I was going to be like taking this somewhere to get an exhaust made, and easier to just reuse existing tailpipes than have to chop and cut up and make your own. It's just faster. So that's going to work out fine. I got plenty of room for shocks, and I'll make the rear shock mounts after the exhaust is done. Everything's where it's supposed to be. So now we'll just put the truck in the air and see what we got to do to tie the front to these unknown rusty mufflers. More pieces of exhaust. Some stuff from the swap meet, cut-offs from some old tailpipes, and a set of lead pipes that I guarantee have been in storage for 20 years plus. These are probably off a Chevy from many years ago. And yeah, they're going to work just fine, because just like everything else here, it was stored inside. It's got surface rust from sitting around, but those are plenty solid pipes. I won't use junk. Junk gets thrown away. So as rough as they look, get those wire brushed and spray palmed black, and they'll look good as new. And I'm starting to think I should have named this project Spray Bomb, because there's a whole lot of black spray paint on it. But it works. So we'll cut this down and see what I can do with it. There's the first piece going in. I just have it set on these stands. If you don't have stands and you have a lift, these are just 3/4 conduit and 1/2 inch conduit. That's all it is. It's just a 3/4 stub with a 1/2-inch stub slid inside. That's a 1/2-inch U out of conduit. Handles made out of conduit with a couple nuts. Base is 1/2-inch conduit, a couple nuts. And then, like I said, that 3/4 stud. And then you just loosen this up and this part goes up and down. You just lock it where you need it. It's great for setting up exhaust systems. And they're cheap to make, so if you don't have any. So I'm gonna tack weld this. I've got my muffler level up there. I'm gonna tack this piece in and then tack the next piece in on the other side and continue on. All right, so I'm in the middle of doing the driver's side. And because I don't have any flanges on these headers, I just welded a downpipe directly to that header. And I'll have to put an O2 bung in it, but we'll do that later. But as far as making a connection point, I've got a straight with an expanded end on it. And I think I'm just gonna use that as the junction point, and then just use a stepped band clamp to hold it, and then obviously put anti-seize on your pipe when you do that, and it'll come apart. And if you ever take it apart later, it'll come apart easy. And I'm hoping I'll only have to take this apart to paint it and put it back on. And of course, my clamps are not new. Well, they are new, but they're swap meet. I find all this stuff. You guys probably don't believe me, but man, I am a swap meet shopper. So those will work. And who knows if I even paid 10 bucks for them, but I got a couple of them here. I probably made a deal for both. But I'm gonna clamp this down. And I have one more piece to make. That's under here. Tying my lead pipe to the header. So I'll make that piece, tie that together, and then this side will be at least done, tacked together, so I can take it out and paint it. But once I have that little piece made and this is clamped down, I'll start on the passenger side, and once everything is tacked, I'll take it back out for final welding and some paint. All right, driver's side exhaust is done, welded up. You just gotta clean it and paint it. Driver's side header is done. Just got to put the O2 sensor in there. There's my O2 bung still cooling down that I just cut out of an old exhaust system. If you part out a Silverado, you can cut it right off the downpipes. No big deal. So I'm going to weld that in right there. The only thing with O2 sensors is obviously they have to clear everything, but you want them on the upper half of the exhaust so condensation goes to the bottom of the pipe and doesn't get on your O2 sensor and kill it. So keep them up out of the moisture in the exhaust. So we'll cut a hole in that, weld that bung in there, and see what it looks like. All right, O2 bung is welded in. And if you're like me and you're doing this stuff on a budget and using used parts, get yourself a spark plug tap. It's the same threads as the O2 bungs. So you can clean up the threads now so there'll be no surprises when you go to put your O2 sensor in. Because we don't like surprises. At least not like that. I just had a surprise. My plasma cutter is dead. That's not a good surprise. So yeah, I'll have to deal with that too. All right, passenger side header is done. There's my O2 bung. And yeah, if you're gonna reuse them like I do, you will want to get that spark plug tap, because it seems like whenever they get welded in again, the threads are a little boogered. Could be from when the original O2 sensor was removed, but either way, you clean up the threads, you got no surprises later. So I'm going to bolt this on. The passenger side exhaust is painted, and we'll get it installed. All right, header is on. Drops down here next to the trans. And then I'm just going to put a bunch of anti-seize on the pipe here. And then the exhaust system will slide over this and we'll clamp it. Same as the driver's side. Let's get it in. All right, let's get this installed. This end, slide over that pipe. Let's see here. Like that. Very nice. Then we got to get the clamp on here to hold it. And my clamp moved. Of course. Oh. Oh. There we go. All right. Now just straighten out the muffler. Put the clamp on. And that'll be it for this side. These U-bolt clamps, great for hangers. I wouldn't use them to actually clamp pipes together because they ruin the pipes. So now we'll just crunch the front and we should be good to go. These band clamps are great for making connections and not ruining your pipes, so they'll come apart later. But they will not keep pipes from rotating. So you got to have hangers to keep the pipes from turning. Once I put the tailpipe hangers on this, it'll keep it from turning. But that is good. And now I got a junction where I can take these off in case those mufflers are garbage and I got to cut them out. All right, there's our finished low buck dual exhaust system. All the way out the back, I just have to weld the tailpipe hangers to the pipes once I get this rolled out a little bit. And yeah, that'll be it for the exhaust system except for up front. Let's go up and look at the spark plug situation. Back up top, got my coils mounted. And you know what? I looked up the ad. I mentioned these studs were supposed to have, I was disappointed they didn't have flange nuts. Well, the ad says they were supposed to have flange nuts. So I got to look into that. Meanwhile, I bought a bunch of stainless flange nuts for a few bucks. They're dirt cheap, but I'm not sure why this set didn't come with flange nuts, but I'll see what the other sets have. So, meantime, exhaust is done. Now, let's see spark plug wires to clear these eBay headers. All right, so here's one of those things where I kind of made a mistake, but we'll see what it works out. So I was looking for ceramic boot spark plug wires like this, and I found a set of Excel ones on Amazon, which are probably made in China. But of course, you know, you bring something up and then it brings you the same thing, but maybe at lower prices. And I found a set, it was cheaper. I said, oh, and it says Excel and everything. And I bought them, and then after I bought them, I looked closely and they were not Excel wires, but you know, and for some reason, Excel has a bad reputation when back in the day, there was really nothing wrong with it. And now everything's made in China anyway, so I don't know if it really matters. But so these are Chinese, but they are solid ceramic coated, you know, rubber wire. So that's certainly not going to burn through. It might get hot, but it should be heat resistant. I think these will clear the headers. Let's see what they look like. All right, let's see how this works out. Let's start with an easy one. What I'm curious is if I'm going to have to trim these studs or not. That actually looks okay. Don't need to trim it. Let's try this one. And that looks okay too. It's real close to the header, but not touching, maybe 1/16 of an inch. And I think this is the easier side than the passenger side. So far so good. They're long enough that they are clearing those studs. So maybe I won't have to cut them down. When I did the Buick, those wires, it was hitting them, but these are long enough. Take a look at this. All right, so far so good, but something tells me this is the easier side based on just the way these pipes are. Let's see what happens over here. All right, that just seemed too easy so far. Let's start at the back on this one. And that's good. I have clearance all around that one. This one. Huh, all right. I think that's going to be all right too. Yeah, that's got clearance. And this one's, let's see about this one. They're all really tight. Now this one, this may be a problem. Are we on there? That one was tight to get in there, and that one's touching. That one may need a little ding on the pipe there. It fit, but depending on how good these are, I mean, if that's definitely not going to melt. But if it transfers heat and ruins the wire inside, then you got a problem. And that one's no problem. All right, well, I did not have to cut the studs down, but I am going to replace those nuts with flange nuts anyway. So I'll be taking these wires back off to swap them out. Let me show you the one that's close. So that's the worst one right there. There's nothing I can do with that to get that away from the header. That's just the way it is. This may need a little ding around that pipe right there. That's no problem, and these two in the back are actually no problem, which is better than I expected, because that's kind of a tight header. But they will work. This is the only one that makes me a little nervous. All right, gave that header a little love tap, and I think it's much better. Also, I just found in the package of wires, they give some, I don't know what you want to call them, dividers or retainers for the hoses, for the wires. So I'm going to use that also to help with clearance. The other thing is, I didn't think it was there, but here's some silicone grease that came in the kit. Put a little bit in each one. Wiggle it around. It'll make it easier to get the wires off in the future. All right, so I ended up taking the header back off and beating on it some, and there's very little clearance for the boot there. We're gonna have to see how that does. I may have to take it back off and beat on it some more, but this is the part number for the spark plug kit that I got. I don't know what to say about it other than it's not Excel, even though it says Excel in the advertisement for it, but we'll see how they do. All right, so we have a low buck custom dual exhaust system. All you gotta do is get some scrap pieces and go on Marketplace and you can build one too. So here's where we ended up with the latest rounds of parts. So what we got here? Exhaust studs, 11 bucks, both truck value and out of my pocket. Got us to $49.71 on the truck value, $18.56 out of my pocket. The headers, those were bought from a friend of mine, same as Marketplace, paid $40 for them. So I marked them as $40 out of pocket. Brings the truck value to $50.11. Out of pocket, $18.96. The mufflers and tailpipes, those are off a G-body. I had that stuff laying around. They're free. They're off a parts car that was long gone. If you were going to buy something like that on Marketplace or something, I said maybe it's worth 50 bucks. I don't even think you'd pay $50 for it, but I put down a value of 50. Brings the truck to $50.61 out of pocket, still $18.96. The exhaust parts, the 2 clamps, and the little miscellaneous pieces. I buy that stuff at swap meets, you know, left over from somebody's project that, you know, you buy a whole exhaust kit and you get leftover pieces. I really don't remember what I paid for that stuff. I know it wasn't much, but I put down $50 value, and I put down that I paid $50 for it. Who knows? Brings the truck value to $5,111. Out of pocket, $19.46. So we're over $5,000 on the value, but nowhere near that out of pocket cost. The O2 bungs, brand new, they're $5, but I had them. They didn't cost me anything. So $51.16, and we're still at $19.46 out of pocket. The O2 sensors, now, I just ordered them. For this eBay harness, I'm using case-grounded oxygen sensors, black connector, square plug, 2000 Z28, okay? And I bought Bosch sensors. I don't want Chinese copies, so they're supposed to be Bosch. They were $65 for the pair. Those are part number, oh man, now I can't remember. If I remember, I'll tell you. But they were $65 a pair. They bring the truck value to $51.81. Out of pocket, $2,011. Why am I thinking 3444? I think maybe it's 53444. They end in 444, those Bosch oxygen sensors. Then we have the plug wires. Again, I thought I was buying Excel wires, but I clicked on the next thing down the line, which was not Excel, but I'm hoping they'll work. They were $55 a pair. 50 pair a set, which brings the value of the truck to $52.36. Out of pocket, $2,066. All right, so that is it for the exhaust system. That was not really a big deal, right? It's so nice working on a truck. So much room. That was like nothing. Now all we do is, when it starts up, we'll see how much of the mufflers blow out the tailpipe. And oh, I found the part number. Wait, let me look up the part number. I'll tell you what those mufflers even are. All right, for anybody who cares, and who doesn't mean anything when we start it, who knows what it's going to sound like, but those are Flowmaster 40 series chambered mufflers, part number 42541. So I don't think they're going to sound like a new one, but hopefully it doesn't sound horrible. We'll see how much said rust blows out them when it fires up. And the part number for the Bosch O2 sensors is 13444. I knew they ended with 444. So that is it. Exhaust system is done. We come back, continue the build. It's moving along now pretty good because there's no real fabrication other than just to put it together. So doing good. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Keep getting more subscribers. I really appreciate it. Thank you for following along. I hope you're either enjoying the pain I'm going through, or maybe we're just having fun watching. I don't know. Hope you get out there and build something. See ya.